welcome back to another episode of the Buffalo Happy. I'm Mike. What's going on?
And Derek, we are in restricted airspace,
Sure.
which most people don't realize, but you will soon. We are here at 12 Gates Brewing, so we should start with introductions, and then we'll dive right into all the fun-filled things that is 12 Gates. You guys want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm AJ Tetzlaff. I'm the account executive here at 12 Gates.
I'm John Rashko. I'm a brewer here at 12 Gates.
Love it.
Have you guys been... So 12 Gates has been around for quite a while, right? So how long have you guys... Like, when did 12 Gates start?
I believe it started in 2015.
12-12-15.
Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I started here 2016. So I wasn't here at the beginning,
Okay.
but I've been here for a while. I remember the first Rock the Gates, I think, was 2015 as well. So that's our big party. But yeah, 2015 is 12/12/2015 is when everything started.
Was that planned because of 12 Gates?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was hoping so.
Yeah, me too.
That'd have been a weird coincidence if it wasn't.
Yeah. They had the big billboard as you're going down the 33,
Oh, really?
coming soon, 12/12/15.
That's sweet.
Yeah, we still got pictures of the billboard.
That's wild.
So what happens to the billboard afterwards? Do you guys keep it? Or do they just rip it down and recycle it?
They probably ripped it
Yeah.
down. I couldn't tell you. I could
That's
ask
sad.
Tom, the owner, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Where would you keep that? That is massive.
So are their tanks,
Well, that's true.
dude.
Good point.
They could put it somewhere.
That's a good point. So we started talking before we pressed record, and you guys have an insanely massive setup. I mean, this is one of the biggest setups that I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Did you start with that, and you're just like, we're just going to crush it right off the bat? We're not going to start with a smaller system, or did you start with a smaller system?
Like I said, I started in 2016. So when I actually came in, they got the small pilot system
Okay.
afterwards. But I think they did some small batches to start, but then they went right into big batches, brewing
Sure.
30 barrels at a time, 60 barrels then. Our tanks are 60 barrels, so they hold, so we brew double batches into them. But yeah, they went right into it.
And how many tanks do you have?
We have 6 fermenters and 1 bright tank. A bright tank's the finishing tank.
So for people that don't know, what is that general ballpark conversion? How many cans does that produce? One batch.
60, so for 60 barrels is 1,860 gallons. So about
gosh.
for 12 ounce cans, I think it's around, give or take, 750 cases.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, those are long days. When we were doing those were very long, tiring days.
What's hours wise? Is that like a 12 to 15 hour day?
Yeah.
Okay.
For a double brew day, that's usually we'll mash in about 6 and leave here around 7.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Those are
then-
my favorite days.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Because there's just endless beer.
Yeah, and we don't. And I actually get to see the bar staff because we usually start early, so we're out of here before. We want to be out of here before the bar's up and running because we don't want to disrupt the flow.
Sure.
So, but those days we were here long, and then by the end of the day, you're just like, yeah, might as well pour a drink, pour a
Right.
beer.
Yeah, seriously.
So when did
Yeah.
you start, AJ?
I started August of last year, but I've been kind of like a barfly at this place since they've opened.
Oh, yeah?
So I'm a musician, and I've been playing in here. I used to do like every week, and I was just really good friends with a lot of the owners, just hung out all the time. And then one day they said, hey, we need a new guy. And I said, I'll be that guy.
Because you probably knew all this stuff
Oh,
already,
sure.
right?
Well, kind of. I didn't really know the distribution end.
Sure.
That's like really what I handle, is getting us into the stores, getting us into the bars. And I didn't really know that too well, but as a musician, I knew all the bar owners. So all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a nice transition. I didn't have to drive all over town and introduce myself. I just kind of said, hey, I'm going to swing by. I got a new job.
Sure.
That's really cool. Were they received, or how was that received? Well, where they were just like, dude, that's super exciting because now I have a
Yeah.
good contact.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It was great because they would call me for music, and now they get to call me for beer. So I just get to see them
That's awesome.
all the time.
So going back to 2016 when you joined, we talked also about how the beer scene has exploded in Buffalo in like the last 5 years, but you guys were ahead of that. What was it like being a brewery back in 2015 before everything really started picking up?
It seemed like a lot busier. And a lot more basic. They're not. It was wheat. Our cores were cherry vanilla wheat, West Coast IPA, which is still our core, and coffee porter, which is still one of our cores. There weren't sours in the market. New England's were kind of starting off, but it's hard for Buffalo to replicate New England style beer because it's a different geography. I mean, and then our cherry vanilla wheat, we had a lot of fruited wheat beers, and that's completely now died off, and I feel like it's now all fruited sours. So yeah, that the big difference was fruited wheats are not. I don't see much of them anymore, and it's all fruited sours now.
Where did sours come from? Is that a West Coast thing that finally made its way to Buffalo?
It might be. I remember sours when I was in school. We did a project on sour beer, but it was different, real sours. It was it's been so long I don't even remember. They're fermented with wild yeast, and they can contaminate your whole brew house, your whole fermenters, and anyone who does them, they were doing them off site, in a different site, and then kettle sours just blew up because you can boil them in the kettle and kill all the contamination. So that just boom. Once people figured out doing that, California, because I think they were originally called California Commons or something.
Oh, okay.
And then what's the other one? There were wheat beers, but then you would add the syrup in after. I'm blanking on the name. New York Beer Project had it on Berliner. Berliner Weisses. Yeah, those were kind of similar to what the traditional sour is now today, the kettle sour that you see everywhere.
Because the beer scene in even San Diego is just ridiculous. It's almost similar to here, where they have just a ton of different craft breweries. Literally, you could just walk and then by the end of the day get blitzed and then not have the same beer twice, just because there's so many different options that you can do. And we actually learned that from Carl at Pressure Drop, where he goes, yeah, you could just go all through the West Coast between California and then Oregon and just pick a different place that you wanted to drink at, and then over the course of a month, there would still be options at the end of the month rolling into the next month that you can try that you haven't been to yet.
Yeah.
It's just fascinating. And right before we started recording, you were talking about how Buffalo drinks an insane amount of beer.
He was the one who actually told me that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he's got a lot. He was the one who told me. It was in Albany. He said, I think his quote was, anytime he talks, I listen. He said, that's why I came here. But Buffalo per capita drinks the most beer or something along those lines.
Yeah, which, I mean, cheers for us, but there's also some reasons why we don't stop drinking. So it's all okay. It's going to work out. So with 12 Grades, you guys have a interesting story, but what do we know about the backstory of how 12 Gates came about? Where are the other 11 gates?
Well, I can tell you the owners, they're all into the appraisal business and real estate, and I guess they were just a bunch of guys that drank together and they're all buddies, and they said, wouldn't it be cool if one day we just opened up a brewery? And I know that some of the investors were trying to get involved with opening up some of the other breweries, and then that didn't work out, and then they started this one. So but Tom Kirchmeyer's he's the principal owner and the founder, and anywhere I go in Hamburg, everybody just knows him. They say, oh, Tom. And he's just a name known around town. I think he was such a barfly everywhere that he just wanted to make beer, and he was kind of coming up with that scene when the craft beer explosion started. They got on top of it right away. But they're also just huge craft beer enthusiasts. So these guys go on vacations, and they'll do the same thing. They'll start from San Diego and go to Oregon if they could, but really they mostly go to Vermont. Yeah, they love. Yeah, they're big New England fans, the New England IPA fans, not New England Patriots fans, obviously not.
No one's a fan of that.
No.
We actually make a lot of New England
blasphemy.
beers, and we don't call them New Englands. We just call them hazy because we just don't want to associate.
I don't think when we took a ride to me, our head brewer Matt, Gordon, and Kevin, the manager owner. Kevin Laylock, we took a ride to Treehouse, and that's in Massachusetts, and they don't call them New Englands there either. I think they just call them IPAs. I don't even know if they call them hazies because that's just the way they were. But I remember like noticing they didn't call them New England IPAs there. They were just hazy or just IPAs. Yeah, because everything there is probably based on their water and stuff is hazier.
So we talked about your flagships a little bit about like what sells. Those were the ones that have always been around. Is the porter, the IPA, right?
Yes, and we don't do the wheat anymore.
Right.
Our Flamingo is probably our coarse fruited beer. Would you say?
Yeah, Poncho's kind of coming.
Yeah, those.
Poncho.
Yeah,
Legacy Lager is really taken over where that left off.
Yeah.
Is there a big difference between what you see on the distribution side and what people are picking up in stores versus what the tap room sees and what is consumed there? Really?
Yeah.
Well, what's the difference that you see?
Well, the way the distribution works is they look at the amount of beers that are sold, like how many units move per week, how much their stock is, so like how much it would take to keep on a shelf to fit a certain time period. And the West Coast IPA is our best seller because it moves X number of units per week, and they have so many beers to keep on the shelves.
Sure.
So on the dry shelves, that's kind of more the one-offs and the other beers that don't sell that much. So anything that's cold or that sells really fast goes into the cooler. Anything that doesn't goes into the dry shelves. So what I'm seeing is our one-offs with the sours are flying on shelves, but they're one-offs, so they don't ever sell enough to give the big stores the numbers to say, look how well this is selling. Let's put it in the cooler. It's going to be around year-round.
Oh, okay.
So. And the way that that's organized is the hot sellers go in certain parts of the shelves. So they'll go eye level, they'll go on the end caps, and then the other beers, like some of our core beers that maybe don't move as much per week or per month, will go on a different part of the store. And it's kind of my job to make sure that the beers that are moving really well get placed on certain parts of the shelves, and ones that aren't moving, we kind of try to put them into the, build your craft pack or something.
Sure. Are there beers that you just brew for like cans or distribution, or is it you just brew everything and then we throw it here and then we package some and we send it off?
So they do pilots for the tap room.
Yes. Yeah. I showed you our pilot
Yeah.
system. So pilots will be just an idea. Like I'll come to Matt like, hey, I was thinking about this the other day, and then when we get an open tap, yeah, all right, we could try that. So those only will make about 2 kegs, and those are only for to sell over the bar here for pints. But then everything else, though, that's brewed on the large scale is canned and kegged as well, except for Boneyard. Can we talk about Boneyard? Boneyards are
That goes to Barbell.
yeah, that's our house IPA that for Barbell.
Oh, sweet.
So that's not canned or nothing. That's sold just to Barbell.
So you just make a beer just for their tap?
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, they love it.
Yeah.
And they go through like 100 kegs of it a year.
How did that partnership start?
The owner, Tom, I want to say his niece, I'm going to get this wrong, married into the Barbell owner's nephew or something.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
It's, by marriage.
Sure. Yeah. But that's still a sweet partnership to be able to do that. And then they're just like, let's just partner with you guys and have a beer that's solely for us.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's a really cool
they're our
opportunity.
number one account.
Yeah.
I mean, by far.
It started only at the Barbell North, right? And now we're at the other Barbell
okay.
as well, because it did so well in the beginning.
So that's interesting that Barbell was like, we'll try it out at Barbell North, and then if it's a hit, then we'll move it into the OG.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And that's their best beer.
Yeah.
I think they also have EBC's
They do.
lager. It's like a house lager, but those are their two.
Which is really cool.
It's just nice too because they're serving it in a frozen mug, so
Yeah.
you're kind of getting the best out of it, which is really cool.
And Kyle Brandt,
Yeah.
Bill's fan, comes into town, and he goes to Barbell, and he posts, everybody. He was saying how everybody was giving him all this criticism about like the best wing in Buffalo and how you're supposed to get them, and I think he got the Cajun barbecue, and everybody on his Twitter feed was just ripping on him for it. So I'm looking at his photo and I'm thinking, man, he nailed it. He got the best one. But then I'm seeing that EBC lager, and so I had to send him a package and a letter that said you should have got the 12 Gates Boneyard. I was hoping he would open it on the show, but he never did. I sent him like a shirt. I sent him a whole bunch of stuff, like a care package, a 4-pack of the beer, and I'm like, next time. But I never heard anything back from him.
Yeah, that's awesome. What other bars are you in?
It's almost
Too much at this point, yeah.
It's a pretty good sized list. There's, I don't know how many of the top 100. I'd say we probably have about 40% of those.
Oh, wow.
40, 50% of the top 100 accounts in Buffalo. So we got a pretty good conversion.
Are they just like one-offs, or are they your West Coast IPA? Are they staples, or do they get some of the experimental stuff too, or is that all here?
Not the experimental stuff, but they definitely get the one-offs. I'm really trying to push Moonlight Fog, because we just took the Bronze Award for the New York State Craft Brewers Association.
Oh, congratulations.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Sick.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was I wish Matt was here
To take credit.
Yeah. It's his beer.
Well, tell him congrats.
I will. I'll text him. I'll text him on the ride home.
Well, that one we're really trying to see like more accounts pick that up. We want to do like about 30 to 50 kegs a month. And right now I think I got it to 31 month, and then it kind of dropped back down to 10. I'm like, oh man, so I got to, step it up and go push that one. But West Coast is still, how many do we put a month? Probably
All I know is
40.
when we package it, we're brewing it a week later. Pretty much the same week. We have to brew it, package it, and then brew it again.
So that's got to be difficult, though, for your specific position, because there's only so many taps that you can take over at a bar. So is it always like we have to have one staple, and then how about you try this because we've heard this is good? Yeah. Do you ask the owners like what their preferred beer style is? I've always been fascinated about that whole interaction between how somebody like you goes to a bar and's like, here, try this other one.
That's tough. Bar owners are very difficult. I love them all.
Yeah.
I love all of them. But they're just, if you've ever done anything wrong to a bar owner, they will hold that grudge as long, like they'll never let it go. So anytime you talk to them, you kind of feel that they have like this like affinity to one thing. And you say like, I would like to present this IPA to you. And they say, well, I've got an affinity with this, or this one time back in 1983, that guy threw a rock my way and I'll never buy his beer again. And it's just funny how they're all like that. So you kind of gotta know each bar owner, and you gotta present the beer a certain way. Mm-hmm. But it is like that where you say, I'm going to walk in here and see if I can get you to buy this Moonlight Fog and have it on tap all year round. And then how's the Moonlight Fog selling? And then he goes, oh, it's really good. And, well, why don't you try this, Blue Lemon Sour? Sure. And then he goes, yeah, I'll give you a second tap handle. And that's kind of how it works.
Okay, cool. That's interesting.
Yeah, it is. I figured it would be a more dragged out process instead of just almost still the old school way of a handshake.
It's a handshake.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's refreshing.
Because
honestly.
that's different from grocery stores or something, right? Like Wegmans, it's not.
Yeah, that's all contract based, isn't it?
That's complicated.
Because that's got to roll into his job where it's just like, hey, man, Wiegmann's needs A, B, and C and this amount. And he's just like, well, little heads up, man. That would have been really cool.
It doesn't happen a lot, but isn't it a lot to do with like not square root?
Yes.
Like size?
Sets.
Yeah.
Sets. It's all about the size of the packaging. So there's 3 answers to this question. And the 3, so again, it goes to the cold, the dry shelves, and then like the displays.
Sure.
So there's the cold shelves are based on size and based on sales. If you have a 30-pack of Coors Light, it's got dimensions, or a 12-pack has dimensions. Mm-hmm. And there's this guy over at our distribution company. He's the captaincy of that, and he knows all the dimensions of all the beers. And then he sits there and he figures it out down to where you can't even get your fingers between the boxes of beer to get it out. But he's got those shelves so geometrically figured out that all those shelves are precise. And they're called gliders, exactly to those dimensions of the cans and cases. So they know how many beers that they're going to go through in a week or in a month or whatever, and then they tell us, and then that's pretty much unlike it's pretty robotic.
Sure.
So they know exactly what to order. Then there's the dry shelves, and the dry shelves they don't sell as fast, but they're pretty random, and I kind of have more say. I can go up to it's called the beer coordinator. He's like the guy in the store. That's his job.
That's
sweet.
amazing.
Yeah, what
It's
a cool
the
job.
greatest job in the world. You get all the beer reps, they come in and they're like, here, try this beer. And he goes, okay.
All right, we'll bring it in, I guess.
Right, I guess. Give me 5 of those. And it's my job to present to him and say, okay, I've got this beer coming out. How many do you want? He says, I want 5, or he says, I want 2. Last time you brought me that, it didn't sell, so give me 1. And that's kind of, how that works. And then there's the displays. So we recently built these shelves, and I can now go into a Wegmans and say, I have a shelf. It carries 8 cases, and then I can say, I want 2 of this, 2 of this, 2 of this. And then we go somewhere in the store and we set up a display, and then I basically have the say over what beer goes in
Sure.
there. And that's really cool. But those are your 3 answers.
Can we give him a shout out? Next door, who makes our shelves.
Oh, sure.
What is it? 716 Design.
What designs?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. He's next door to us. I think they're open another place, but real cool woodworking
Oh, that's
stuff.
sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys, if you ever went from 16 ounce to 12 ounce, would give this guy a heart attack, right? No, yes.
We do both. We have
you do?
16
Okay.
Yeah, we have 16 and 12 ounce.
The shelves are built for the 16 ounce.
Yeah.
And when you put a 12 ounce, it looks like it
Right.
gets your OCD.
It's not it's just not there.
But, the other thing, too, is the 12 ounces kind of sell themselves because they're usually priced a little bit better. Like we do our poncho and we do like a Table Smasher, Mulligan,
Yep,
and
West
Coffee Porter.
Coast.
So the prices of that are all lower than the 16 ounce ones. When I get the displays, I try to get the one-offs and the 16 ounce ones. So it A, looks better on shelves, but B, also kind of helps promote the more expensive beer.
Interesting. Were you guys always in this location?
Yes.
What was the thought around getting into this location? Because you're kind of in like a park,
Right.
like a commerce park, right?
Yeah, I don't know what the thought behind it is, but it turned out it's like a blessing in disguise because it's like people's hideaway. Like when people find it,
Sure.
at first it's hard for them to find, but then when they find it, it's like, oh, this is our like secret spot.
Right.
And you get a lot of regulars that way, and a lot of people coming back.
It's got to be a cult following at this point.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think it's a lot of geographics with all of the breweries now. Like every neighborhood kind of has their own, and it's like so people Williamsville, Cheektowaga, they come drink here.
Yeah.
People in Orchard Park, they go drink at First Line.
So when it comes to your list of what restaurants you're in, what my first thought was it's got to be primarily North Towns to start, and then it slowly pushed south. Is that essentially how that worked? Because organically, that makes a ton of sense.
You would think that. I think when we first started, Williamsville really
Popped.
it was 12 Gates wasn't everywhere, but now you've got Brightsmith and you got these other breweries around, and I've actually seen Hamburg and I would say Hamburg's probably selling the most of our beer. Like when I think of all the places. Williamsville does a good job. Our largest accounts have traditionally been in Williamsville, but Hamburg, I can go pretty much anywhere and place a beer and they do really well. I think they just go
awesome.
through a lot of beer.
Yeah.
There's a lot of beer drinkers in Hamburg, man.
I love it.
I mean, no free shout outs, but like Butera's, if you're getting an amazing pizza, a beer sounds really good with that. And it
And they
makes
just
sense.
started their own beer,
Yeah,
he's making his own
exactly.
beer now.
It's crazy just because there's so many places and options and all the outdoor seating, which leads us right into you guys. You have a lot of opportunity with the room that you have to basically cultivate a space, like you were saying, a hideaway to bring more people here. What's happening outside that you guys created that really just that's unique, basically, is my point.
Sure, that's great. Well, we're the one place that you could watch airplanes land. That's always cool. But also every year we have the Rock the Gates concert where we set up a big stage and a big production, and we've been getting like 2,500 people here. So just outside, imagine, this space holding 2,500 people. It actually grew so big, it grew so popular that this year we're going all out, and we actually hired the Glorious Sons.
Really?
Yeah.
You can fit 2,500 people out there?
2018, I think we had about that, or 2017. But this year I don't know what the ticket sales are up to. Last I checked, they were like 1,900.
Oh my
They're
gosh.
still 2 weeks ago, but we're going to actually put them in the back here because there's more
cool.
space. But
So where can people buy those tickets, just in case if they're watching they want to get some?
Is that Eventbrite?
Eventbrite?
Yeah, I think even maybe Ticketmaster. Is it? It's
We'll throw a link in the
legitimate-
description. Yeah.
Yeah. It's.
I know if you go to the website, 12gatesbrewing.com.
I can't see the poster
there's a
from
link
right
to
here.
it.
Actually, there's
see
a
it?
poster right there. Does it say on there? 103.3 The Edge. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on there. Cut that.
I'm pretty sure it's
Cut
Eventbrite.
that.
That's pretty cool though. So you
know
can
the
come
tickets are
in.
almost sold
Sorry,
out,
yeah,
though.
this is.
Yeah.
bad-
So what is
bad
the
radio.
event like? So if somebody hasn't attended before, what can they expect when they come?
It's an all-day festival. You know, we start at 12 at noon,
Yeah.
and you got to pace yourself.
It's a music festival. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a band every hour.
Yeah. And then there's beer too.
A lot
And
of it.
Our beer, yeah. So we'll have. There's gonna be food trucks, I believe.
Yep. I think we have 5 food trucks.
Yeah.
And then we have a cider company, and then we have a winery, which is
cool.
Freedom Run Winery is going to be here. And then it'll be our beer and then a cider and the wine.
And I think we have 4 beer releases that day.
Yep. And we got Pineapple Flow,
Yep.
the Summer Days, which is a hazy New England.
And then 2 pilot batches. A Grodzinski, which is like a Polish beer, and then
Sounds Polish.
a strawberry ice cream sour.
Ooh.
And yeah. So those are pilots. Those will probably only be served in there. But the Pineapple Flamingo and Summer Days, our Days series, will be sold in cans and pints.
Okay.
And yeah, we're packaging Pineapple Flamingo tomorrow. That came out really nice. And Summer Days is almost there. They'll be packaged by the end of the week. And that's very tropical.
Very
That's
refreshing.
soft. Yeah, we'll see how it finishes with the carbonation stuff, but right now I tasted it this morning and it's really, really good, really soft.
It's got an amazing hop combination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like all the tasty ones.
Where do you guys source your ingredients per se?
Are we allowed to say that?
I don't know.
Any local options? I'll say that.
We used to. A couple of them stopped. Like,
Okay.
We were getting Vertical Vines was making
Yeah.
one of
we
our
were using the
hops.
hops. We were for Vertical Vines.
We got the
New York-
honey from Bee Country.
Yep. Yeah. Other than that, I think we use
Attitudes Coffee.
Attitude Coffee for our coffee porter. The rest is just we're so large that I think we have to get everything in bulk. So
That's fair.
It's not very low. Try to keep it as local as we can.
Yeah.
But like for your base malts, we're using a full pallet for one batch. So I think it's a Canada malt. I don't know if we're allowed to say that, but I don't see why not. Yeah, I think it's just 2-row and Pilsner malt from Canada malt.
You guys are just so large that it's like normally we ask those types of questions. We're like, oh, that's local, but it's like you guys can't. You are creating so much beer that it's
Yeah.
probably tough to even keep up with demand with anybody that you do business with.
Yeah. No. Matt's good about it. Matt's always on top of, and me and Matt coordinate. I'm on the floor, and I always like to give him heads up when, hey, we're running low on this, and we make sure we're always just. He like earlier you asked about getting caught with our pants down. He says, hey, we need this. That really doesn't happen though. Matt's pretty good. He's like 2 months or so ahead.
Okay.
I've seen him in the office, looking at next year's schedule. Like, so he's pretty ahead of schedule, and so ingredients wise, we really never run out because we're always, and we're also so big, so we order enough to always have it.
Yeah.
ready.
So you're sustainable.
Yeah.
How many days a week do you brew?
On a good week, 2.
Okay.
And then the other 3 days are, cleaning, transferring, packaging. About 1 to 2 days a week.
Gotcha.
There are places that are brewing 5 days a week.
Smaller systems though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we pretty much have beer in a couple of the tanks at all times, though.
Sure. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine them just be like, I need all the honey you have?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Like every single bit of it.
Yeah, it'd be the most Ron Swanson thing in the
When
world.
we do the
whole farm.
sours, when we do the sours, we go to Wegmans. We use yogurt to sour the beer. And
Yogurt?
Yes. Yeah. There's a lactobacillus in it that you sour the beer with, and you let it sit for I think we let it sit over the weekend. So we'll brew it Friday, finish it on Monday. But Matt, we since we're so big, we need like 12 of them. So like we clear out Wegmans. So
What?
We always think it's hilarious. Like it's like you walk in and it's all stocked up, and then we go early in the morning, and then Matt just clears the whole thing out.
I didn't even know like that was even a thing though.
Yeah, no, it's a normal thing. Yogurt.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So do you guys offer food here too? Or
Yes.
Okay. Well, what's your food menu like?
It's like pizzas and like he does like a brisket taco and just kind of like cool pub food.
Sure.
It's really good.
Pretzels, stuff like that. Just typical bar food.
Yeah, quick in and out.
Yeah.
Enough to make you thirsty.
Yeah.
It's great though. Like I love having dinner here.
Do you guys have takeout options or no?
I think so. I don't see why we wouldn't.
I know we have takeout boxes, but I don't.
Okay.
I don't
Right.
think I don't think it's like order ahead. Mm-hmm. I think that the goal is to have people stay and drink.
Absolutely.
Right.
Which you have a lot of you have a lot of room for it inside, which is nice, especially just because who knows what the weather's going to be specifically here. In 15 minutes, it could change. So it's nice that you guys have that option.
So you have your cooler here with all of or some of your options there. Do you try to have everything in cans at all times in the tasting room, or again, is it just kind of whenever we can fit it in, we'll bring it in?
I think we try to do most of the stuff that gets distribution up here, I guess. Just so people have another place to go and get it and buy it. Buzz the Tower really doesn't get distribution. Ominous and Putting on the Foil really didn't get a lot. It was sort of did, but it just we had made so much beer at that time. It was back in the fall, and everybody at all the breweries were just making a ton of beer, and the market really just didn't support it at the time. So the shelves everybody was fighting for like a case or two, and then we got stuck with a lot of it. So we're trying to kind of move that along. We still have a lot of cases in the cooler that we're still trying to move, but those typically make it here. And then of course, obviously our the new stuff.
Yeah. And you guys are at this point now, we talked about bar distribution, but like grocery store stuff, basically wherever you can find beer, you're at, right?
Yeah, I would think
Yeah,
so.
I've seen us in Walmarts. I believe I've seen
Walmart.
us in a Walmart once.
They get
Target.
West Coast, and I think that's about it. Sometimes Poncho during the bill season, but everywhere
Definitely
else.
Tops and Wegmans, right?
Yeah, we're all the Tops.
A lot of gas stations.
All
I
the
see us in.
Wegmans.
Consumers?
A lot of.
Oh, yeah.
every
Yeah.
consumer.
Consumers, like they dictate a lot of
Yeah.
how much we package, right?
Right. So they usually buy about 40 cases of every one off. And I think of our the 16 ounce cans. And then the remainder, I think about 40 to 50 go to Wegmans. And then 10 to 20 would go to like all the little bottle shops like BTR Brews or like Brewed and Bottled up in Lewiston or is it Bottled and Brewed? Is that I forget the order. But
One of the two.
like
Yeah.
those little
Yeah.
shops you walk into that just have a bunch of craft beer.
Yeah.
Usually buy like so you get maybe like 10 to 20 cases in there, and then sometimes like a couple bars will buy like the actual canned packaging. So we could usually push like 120 to 140 in distribution, and then try to get the rest in this little cooler sold in the tap room.
Did you guys ever do bottles?
No,
No?
Just
we did one for Rock the Gates.
Yeah, for Rock the Gates release, we did those one time. They're dangerous. Doing bottles is kind of is if they explode.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's with the can when we bought our canning line, he was explaining to me, the guy who came to help us set it up, just how while they make canning lines as well or bottling lines, but he said it could get real messy if one of the bottles breaks on bottling line. You got to shut everything down, make sure all the glass is cleaned up, and So that's why I don't think you see a lot of bottles
Yeah.
anymore.
I guess I never thought of it that way because, I mean, especially with how pressurized beer is, things could
Yeah.
fly all over
Yeah, I
the
don't think
place.
you'll ever see a fruited sour in a bottle.
Yeah,
good point.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
Probably
Consumers, I had multiple instances of some local. I won't name the beers.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
They get so mad when you talk about it. But a lot of them exploded on the shelves. So every once in a while, you go into consumers, you see a mess on the floor, and it's somebody's beer that,
Just exploded.
I could just imagine with my forklift driving skills that if I was moving bottles around, it would not be clean. It would be very messy.
About once a month they come in. There's like a new big scuff mark on the cooler from.
Yeah.
All right, I look at all the dented cans and I'm like,
I have
oh,
to-
John was here.
I have to beat the door shut. I've gotten a lot better though.
There's a big chunk.
Very
missing.
now I'm confident. I get overconfident.
Yeah.
That's my
I
problem.
saw this morning. There's a big chunk missing in the cooler on the bottom left, and that's new.
Oh yeah. No. I've slowly over the last 2 years been ripping off the installation.
How many brewers are there?
Here,
Yeah.
there's Matt's the head brewer. I'm his assistant, and then we have another Matt, another guy named Matt. He does cellaring and he's brewing as well now. So there's 3 of us that are here on the floor working.
pretty much all the time.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
What
It's
about
an
other?
amazing team too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I-
the 3 of us together, we work very well together.
I would also just point out, I mean, I'm a huge fan of their beers. Ever since these guys kind of started as like a 3-man team, you can even see it in the ratings. If you go to Untapped, like look at all the beers that we made from 2015 up until 2020, 2020. And you look at from 2020 until today, and it's like the difference of like a 3 to 3.5 rating to like a 4.1.
Really?
I mean, it's a huge gap. These guys are making incredible beers.
What do you like account that up to?
Well, like I said, I started in 2015, and I was doing more. I was only part time. I was an intern at first, and I was only part time, and I was doing mostly keg washing and cleaning tanks and stuff. And then once I came full time, and it was just me and Matt here, and we had a lot of time, and I learned a lot from him, and then trial and error as well. Like I thought he knew everything, and then not everything, and then I'm like, oh, he was learning as we went too.
Sure.
And a lot of I think back some of the stuff that we did, I was like, oh, why did we do it that way? It wasn't the right way to do things. And then it's like, and I was even looking the other day, I was looking at old recipes. I was like, wow, we really adjusted, and the way we're doing things now is like very smooth, and everything's coming out a lot better.
So now there's just more time for you guys to be able to sit back and kind of critique
Also-
yourself rather
yeah,
than
he-
just being
he's-
overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's also friends with all the other brewers. So everybody that's taught, like right now, he's at a meeting, at the Brewers Guild meeting. That's why I'm here. And they're talking and sharing, and the whole community. That's we're all learning from each other as well. So
It's a very tight-knit community.
yeah,
I mean, they all sing karaoke together on like Mondays, or go bowling or play.
yeah,
sports
yeah. They're
together.
working on. The reason he really had to be there was they're working on Beer Week. It's coming up, and it's after the Rock the Gates. So it's like the 3rd week of June. I think the 25th is the Brewers Fest at Canalside. So that's an important week that they're all working on right now.
And when you see these guys at these beer fests and stuff, you see like all the brewers kind of they all hang out and critique each other's beer, but they also talk about like what they're doing and
Oh yeah.
up techniques.
I don't talk a lot there. I just listen. I mostly listen.
So what collabs have you guys done with other breweries?
That's a great question. We've done some really good ones.
We did. The most recent one is with Gypsy, Wandering Gypsy, Blue Lululemon,
Yeah, that's the one you guys are.
our fruited
drinking.
sour,
It's really good.
Who is this one with?
Wandering Gypsy.
Okay.
They're up in Ransomville.
Oh, gotcha.
And drive middle of nowhere until you're lost. You're almost there.
We did. I'm blanking.
You said you did one with
well, the
First
Fruit
Line, right?
Explosion.
Yes, Fruit Explosion. Yeah, we did Fruit Explosion
Eli
with
Fish.
Eli Fish. That was a big one,
Yeah.
and we're doing it again, I believe.
That one sold off shelves in like an hour. Like as soon as we
That's
put it on
insane.
consumers.
Yeah, the
was
logo
gone.
was really cool. Looks like a Gushers
sweet.
pack.
So it was a fruited sour?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now that
everything.
every '90s kid can drink, they're
Right.
like Gushers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny because I was actually at Wegmans talking to the beer coordinator about how mad they were that they didn't get their hands on it because it sold out too fast. I'm like, well, I'll get you another thing. And we got like 10, 20 cases left. And then as I was sitting there, there was a team of beer geeks that were hunting for it. There was like a team of like 5 or 7 people, and they were like, and they came up to the beer prep and they were like, do you guys have the Gushers beer? And I'm sitting there and I'm, the 12 Gates rep hearing this, watching a team of people going to each Wegmans trying to buy them out of it. And that's how like clicky and,
That's
That's
another
wild.
one we learn, through talking with Adam from Eli Fish. We adopted some of the things he was doing for his sours, and he swept the board and won the Governor's Cup the year before at the New York State Brewers. What is that called?
New York State Brewers Association.
Yeah, the association, the competition, and so obviously we're going to listen to him, and we used some things he does, and it improved our sours a lot.
So how
liquid
do
was delicious too.
yeah? So how do collaborations work? Like what are the back end processes? Is it you guys get into one of your breweries and just brew together, or is it you're brewing part of it, they're brewing part of it, and is blending? Like what's that process like?
Yeah, it's usually they come here or we go there and we brew, and so a lot of it will be here because we have a larger system and we could make more. So most of them have been here, but yeah, they come here for the day, and usually the top guys heading out at the bar and drink while I do the work. So
Perfect.
yeah,
Sounds great.
and then I try to sneak back and listen to them and sneak in for a beer with them. But yeah, no, but I'm half joking. Everybody helps out.
Sure.
Yeah, it's usually like we'll buy the ingredients, we'll make it all, and then we'll split the bill.
Gotcha.
And then these guys make it, but they kind of come up with the ingredients and the technique and processes together.
So now from your end though, is that like when you get something that is in demand like that, how are you allocating? Because I mean, everyone hears the term allocation and everyone gets all weirded out about it, especially in the whiskey world. But
Allocation
with you,
has a specific meaning in distribution.
yeah. So like, how do you do that for a beer that's in demand like that?
So allocation is the right word, because I'll meet with the brewmaster and I'll say, how many are you making? And he'll say, I made 120 cases. I've got 10 half kegs and I've got 12 sixtels. And it's my job to go place them. And then the important ones, I don't want to say the important ones, but like the larger accounts usually get allocation. So they get first dibs on it because they'll sell it the fastest.
Sure.
So consumers, I think they were allocated 40. Wegmans was allocated 40, and I went to each Wegmans and said, how many do you want? One store took 2 cases, one store took 8, one store took 6, and it just added up to 40. But then as soon as it gets to the distributor's warehouse, it almost gets placed in another room, and then it gets shipped straight off. And then the rest of it is kind of just whoever grabs it first. And the problem with Fruit Explosion was the allocation went to consumers, but it didn't go to Wegmans. So they should have had first dibs, but it sat in the warehouse, and then when it went live inventory is what it's called, everybody just grabbed it. And I almost didn't even have to sell it. Like, people were just taking it.
Sure.
So even though it was spoken for, it didn't get allocated, and the people kind of like took it so that the people who had dibs on it didn't get it, and it was a whole issue. But
Interesting.
it's a good problem to have when
Sure.
everybody's just trying to buy your beer.
Yeah. Yeah, it's job security.
Right. And then the next sour that we came out with, just went like that, because then everybody was like, well, I didn't get it the last time, so I got to get it first this time.
Do you guys ever think you'll redo the Gushers?
Oh yeah,
we're doing it.
we're brewing it again. Yeah, like very soon.
It's like a tropical
Yeah,
Gushers instead of like the main fruits.
yeah. I don't know what he's planning on using for fruit wise, but I know the base beer will be very similar, and I'm pretty sure it's a collab again.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really cool.
Good for you guys.
So what other? So we have Eli Fish, we have Wandering Gypsy,
Those are the most recent. We did first line with First Line last summer. That's a more of a Matt thing. I just do what I'm told. So Matt comes up with it. It's usually like I'm sure we did one with Windy Brew as well. That was a drunken conversation between Matt and Russ, and then they forgot they had the conversation, and then later that weekend they're having the same conversation. So you guys realize you were repeating your and they're like, oh yeah. So they did a beer together.
I wouldn't be.
Oh, we tapped it. I think it was the United Ukraine beer they did together, and then also with Santoris as well.
We did West Shore. Every one of these like little festivals and beer things, it always seems that West Shore and 12 Gates get put next to each other.
Oh yeah.
So
we did one last year. It was last year. It was a raspberry chocolate Hefeweizen or something. That one went fast though. I wasn't at there. They did that at West Shore, and I remember Matt saying that it was a fun brew day.
Is there any I'm sure that there are, but when you're going to a festival like that, is there any discussions on who you want to be put next to, or are they just putting you next to somebody that's beer kind of tastes like yours, or you collab
feel like it's
with?
random.
Okay,
but it always seems to be the same places.
They might do it more like I said, geographical.
Volume, maybe?
I feel like I'm using the word geographical wrong. But where you are close to who your brewery is close to.
Oh, okay.
So I know the last one I was at, I don't go to them as often as I'd like, but the last one I was at, we were near Santora's and West Shore, and they're pretty close to us here. I'm also terrible with directions too. So.
You might be onto something there, because it does seem like all the Williamsville ones get put in a spot.
And then I see the Buffalo set, the more
the Flying Bisons, the Big Ditches.
Which probably makes sense. I mean, if you're if you're a consumer and you're going and you're trying yours, and you go to the next booth and it's Josh from West Shore, and you're like, oh, you're right next to them, I'll go to you guys next, because I'm going to be in 12 Gates' area anyway, so I might as well go there.
Yeah.
So I guess that does make sense from a consumer standpoint. Hey, good job, guys, if that's actually how you're doing
I hope so.
Yeah, it's like somebody planned it or something.
I do always get stuck next to Josh. And he's always late, I hope he's listening.
He's a riot, too.
He's a one-man show over there, though. He's trying to sell it, brew it, keep the place open, bartends. I love Josh.
It's great.
So how many total employees do you have here? We talked about the brewers, but everybody else, are we talking 10, 20?
I couldn't give you the exact number. I know that there was, now with summer coming and outdoor, he hired a bunch of servers. So I know cooks-wise, we have 2 or 3 cooks.
Okay.
It's probably somewhere around 15.
Yeah, lead bartenders, there's only 3 or 4, and then a lot of servers. Yeah, so maybe 20, safely 20 to 30.
Sure.
Altogether.
That's pretty sweet. And you guys have merch hanging all around here.
Yeah.
It's a very expansive merch selection. I mean, you got everything from sweatshirts to pullovers to t-shirts, hats, everything.
Those sweatpants are extremely comfortable.
Yeah.
Some of the most comfortable sweatpants I've ever.
Yeah.
The sweater. There's a sweater up there that's wearing PJs. It's that one right there.
Yeah.
I live
awesome.
in it. Every day when I come into the tap room or the brewery, everybody's got that sweater on.
It's just that comfortable.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What you can only buy them here though, right? Merch, or can you buy them at? Okay.
No,
cool.
Yeah, just here. But the owner, Kevin Laylock, his sister owns a t-shirt company, a printing company.
Oh, okay.
So she makes them for him. We get a good deal.
That's awesome.
Well, I hope so.
Right.
Yeah, that's amazing. Good for you guys.
So we should probably.
Want another beer, by the way.
I mean, I'll take one.
Yeah,
I'll try another one. What else? So we just had the. What is it called again?
This is the Blue Lou Lemon. It's a blueberry lavender lemon sour.
Blue Lou.
Blue Lou, not
Yeah.
Lulu.
Correct.
They'd get sued for that.
Yeah.
Almost immediately.
Skirting on that lawsuit.
Yeah.
Just right in the lines.
I was nervous because they put the wide right and no goal on their store, and then we got that label in the next day after that was in the news. I'm like, oh no, I hope this isn't bad.
So
we disavow.
What's another one that you would suggest that we try after trying that one?
I would probably just tell you to try the Moonlight Fog because that's kind of like our pride and joy right now.
Okay.
We're really trying to push it. And it's also kind of the base for what our Days series is based off of. Matt had come up with a really good base, if you will, that has a really creamy mouthfeel, and it's got certain ingredients that we're kind of trying to keep, using. And it's double dry hopped, and he usually just changes the hop profile and then creates a new release.
Sure.
So the Moonlight Fog has kind of been the one that was like the most popular and the biggest hit and sold through the tap room the fastest. So
And it's what style of beer?
New England.
New England?
IPA.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Can I try a super small amount?
yeah.
Okay.
Just put this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
you're
good. Live your life. It's America.
I'll take one as well.
there we go. Let's all crush them. Let's do this. So the discussions behind the scenes around creating a new beer, it has to be challenging, right? Because how do you get to a point where you're not repeating recipes?
Goodness.
Do you want to calm down a little bit?
Sorry.
It's not challenging. It's fun. It's part of why you do it.
Sure.
You could come up with like, I wonder how these hops go together. I wonder, and you just or like you think of a name and it's like, well, what can I do based off that name? And
Gotcha.
like sometimes I'll think of a flavor. I'm like, oh, I want to try to make the beer taste like this. I was thinking of a lunchbox shot. You guys ever have a lunch? I was like, oh, let's try to make a New England IPA that tastes like that. Then I realized, oh, never mind. That's kind of what this other beer tastes like.
Sure.
That, so but
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
yeah. So it's a lot of just playing with different ingredients. Like, oh, you tried. I've used this before. I've used this style of hops before. So let's see how they work together with this yeast. And then when something new comes out, there was a yeast strand that came out over the winter called Cosmic Punch, and we brewed a pilot batch with that to try it out. It produced these flavors called thiols. They're more like passion fruit,
Okay.
and so we played with that a little bit, and it was also a different style of brewing. You were using mash hops, and you wanted to use certain hops in the mash that weren't going to add to the bitterness because it's New England. You don't want to have a bitter New England. So things like that is how we're. So it's not really. We're never handcuffed.
Sure.
We'd always play, and it's beer too. So it's like you need to stay to the style, but at the same time, it's all you're trying to have fun with it, and if we're having fun making it and enjoying it, then hopefully that parlays to people drinking it.
Yeah, sure. It'll show in the product. Well,
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Appreciate
course.
Cheers.
that. I'm excited for this.
Yeah. This
Cheers.
is our flagship, or our new flagship here.
Now, when you say that's really good, when you say new flagship, do you have to like mentally? Are you reaching a milestone of sales before you call it a flagship, or are you putting it in the like brewing it and you're like, this is going to be what we want to stand on?
It's funny you say that. I think the one of the owners, Kevin, his son came up with the name, and we all just really liked the name. That was like number one. And then we tasted the liquid, and we all fell in love with the liquid. And then everybody in the tap room fell in love with the liquid. And then the sales were there. And then that's kind of when we said, let's make it again. Let's get behind it.
The first batch of Moonlight Fog, we thought it was a one-off, and we got these. There was a shortage of like when you get a sticker, you take the sticker off the wrapper and it's like plastic or it's paper.
Yeah. Yep.
So there was a shortage of the plastic, so we had these paper labels, and it was just awful canning day. And at the end of the canning day, there was maybe about 20 cases of labels left. Matt's like, it's a one-off. We're never brewing this again. Just throw it out. Get these labels. Just get them away from us, because we were so frustrated. Threw it out, and then it's sold out, and they're like, all right, we're brewing it again. I'm like, don't, yeah. So and now we got good labels though for it, but it was never meant to be. It was only meant to be a one-off, wasn't it?
So it just checked all those boxes, and it's like, we might as well run with this because everybody likes it, and
Right.
clearly everybody else in the stores like it too.
Right.
So let's just make it a flagship.
And then it won an award, And,
Yeah.
and our untapped ratings are great on it.
Yeah.
What is the percentage?
6.9.
Okay. How often do people?
You could crush this.
I have to look.
You got to be careful. It's like a tropical mimosa, I tell people.
Oh yeah, good call. How often do you guys look at Untappd ratings or base your beers off of ratings on Untappd?
They would answer that differently than I would.
Sure.
The brew guys, they hate them. You know.
No, I don't hate them. I just
Matt does. You know.
I don't. I try not to look, but and then you look and then you see bad. You scroll and you stop at the bad ones. See,
Right,
Like
yeah.
why that guy? Let me see why that guy only gave it 2 stars. So I try not to get. It's like reading bad.
Yeah,
guys
absolutely,
probably
100%.
Well, they'll say like, I don't like IPAs, and then they'll give you a 1 star. You're like, well, if you're supposed to rate the IPA as it is an IPA,
Right.
You're not supposed to tell me what your preference is, and that's really kind of like tearing everybody's reviews down. But
Yeah, people are literally the worst.
Yeah. Like, I like a lager. This IPA sucks.
mean,
It's like, well, obviously.
we see those every single
that's
beer.
gotta be
So annoying.
Before I worked in a brewery, when I'd use Untappd, it would just be to remember. Like, oh yeah, like let me just.
Oh, sure.
And I just like I didn't put stars based. I just did it real quick. So like the next day, I'd be like, oh yeah, I was at this beer event and I tried these beers. So I don't know how many people are doing that, and they don't realize like when you don't give a good rating or just because you're doing it really quick, you could be hurting
business.
bottom line. Yeah, you
Yeah.
could be hurting bottom line, but
Yeah.
also that's kind of the part of the game.
Sure.
It's still an even playing field.
Yeah.
I mean, that person giving the 2 is going to give a 2 to everybody's
Yeah,
beer. So,
right.
if you get enough ratings, at least it puts them back up.
Yeah.
But as for the owners, like the 12 Gates owners and the investors, they're heavily into it. I mean, they really
Oh, that's cool.
they look at that like daily. And they say, our ratings are above this on this beer. Like, everybody, let's get behind it, or tell all your friends about this beer. And that's actually why we started doing this one, because it just had really good ratings.
Is that common that the owners are that invested in Untappd, or is it just because of who those people are?
It should be common, right? You should.
It is.
If you own something, you should want it to be the best thing it possibly could be, right?
We have text chains and email chains, and they talk about it all
Yeah.
the time. If they're not here drinking a beer, they'll be emailing about the Untappd rating, or
That's really cool.
so they really take it personally.
That's awesome. So festival-wise, we talked that we have the New York State Brewers Fest coming up. From your side, how do you determine which beer you want to be there? Are you going staples, or are you going, these people know beer, let's try to throw them a curveball? Like, what are you thinking about?
Yeah, it's all those things. We've been trying to bring Moonlight Fog, because every time we bring it, everybody tastes it and says, "Oh, this is the best beer I've had in this entire festival." And we're like, "Yes," So and we love that. But then also, I'll probably have maybe like a chocolate banana. Really didn't get a whole lot of distribution, just because, like I said, it came out in a time where everybody's making so much beer. So we really had to focus on like selling our distributors like 4, but we had 8.
Sure.
So sometimes we'll grab one of those kegs, and those are usually our most popular. We bring the oddball one, the most random flavor we can come up with, like chocolate banana, and then it kind of like it is intriguing. It says, "Oh, I've seen 100 IPAs, I've seen 20 sours, but they have a chocolate banana Hefeweizen." So we try to kind of play that angle,
Sure.
be
That's
the
cool.
unique one, and that's how we pick.
Do you plan to brew it then, like days or weeks before that, in anticipation for that event, or is it all just whatever we have?
No, it's also like a lot will be like what it's releasing. So like if Summer Days is coming out and we want people to know it's out there, and like we want people to buy the cans, so it's like, yeah, let's bring Summer Days to it. That goes into it too, I would imagine. I remember the Blueberry Danish, that when the last year's the Blueberry Danish, we kicked it at the last Brewers Fest, and then and then the cans went right after.
That's cool.
That was that. I want to say that put us on the map a little bit for our sour game. Everybody just kind of thought like, "Hey, 12 Gates sour game is elevated."
Oh, cool.
And it was really the Blueberry Danish that kind of got people into the whole mindset of, "Wow, Matt Gordon makes amazing sours," And it was because we did the canal side one.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, that we sold out of that very fast.
The entire canal side was walking around with purple glasses.
Yeah.
And they were coming back with like third and fourth helpings. We're like, there are 3,000 beers here, or 3,000 people, 500 beers, and
Yeah.
everybody's got a purple glass.
That's amazing.
And we're out.
That's really cool.
And then sales went through the roof.
Yeah.
So where are we located? I don't ever think we said the address, just so people can figure out where we actually are.
80 Earhart Drive.
80
I said
Earhart
that.
Drive.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I was like, I know it off the top of my head.
And this is Williamsville, right?
Yeah.
Consider Williamsville? Okay, cool. And then what are your hours normally in social media presence?
So I believe we open at 4 Tuesday
through
Wednesday,
Thursday,
yeah.
4 to 10? Or is it 4 to... that's
11.
way past my bedtime.
Looks
So.
like 4 to 10.
Yeah, 4 to 10. And then Friday's noon. Saturday is noon to midnight, I believe.
11.
11. And then...
Sunday is 12 to 5, I think.
Good deal. And then social media, it's 12 Gates Brewing on Instagram, correct?
Instagram, Facebook.
12, the number 12, right? Not 12 spelled
Yeah,
out.
one.
The number
two,
12, not
no.
spelled out.
And then website,
12gatesbrewing.com.
do you have, on the website, is there an area for people to find your beers? I mean, if you're in Buffalo, just
Yes.
go anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so not the accounts, because if a bar brought in one of our beers and they kicked it in 2 days and we put it on our website, we'd be sending people there and they'd be disappointed.
True.
So as much as I would love to do that, that would just be a nightmare, especially like Moonlight Fog. If I put that on draft somewhere, somebody like an account buys a sixtel of it, they'll sell that out in a night,
Sure.
Yeah, somebody goes Friday, they're loving it, and somebody else goes Saturday, they're like, well, you said,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Anything else that we didn't talk about that you guys want to touch on before we close it out?
I mean, Rock the Gates. It's coming up.
Yeah, upcoming events. You got
Yeah, that's
that
that's
giant
our
music
big day.
festival.
I wouldn't mind 12 Gates of...
Oh yeah, we do the 12 days of Christmas too. 12,
cool.
yeah. Those are rough weeks. Not rough weeks. I shouldn't say it like that. I mean, it's fun. Like we're talking about creating new stuff. So we come up with 12 different beers for each day of December. The first 12 days of December.
That's rough. You can be honest. It's rough. That's a lot of work.
For the brew guys,
But it's still
it is.
not. It is, but it's fun at the same time.
For the beer drinkers, it's rough on your liver.
Yeah. Yeah, and then so if you come in all 12 days and get one of each one, you get your stamp, and then at the end you win a prize. You win the shirt. I did it.
Oh, sweet.
I did the 12 days of Christmas, and then it usually culminates in our anniversary party, 12/12. Mm-hmm. And then like this year's going to end with birthdays. It's going to be the ending. I'm not allowed to talk about that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's the end of our day series, birthdays. Is
Nice.
going to end this year. So we're going to start probably coming up with the other 6 months out. We're going to probably start coming up with our other 11 beer ideas
Sure.
for that now. And
But
then,
they get really creative. It's
Yeah.
actually kind of cool.
Yeah,
Like,
we
they
did,
a
we-
s'mores one that was awesome.
Ooh.
we did a Josh Jaggs cereal one. That was fun. That was just random. I was walking the store. I was like, I sent him a picture. Let's throw this in a beer.
It was cool too.
Cool,
They did
let's do it.
a bitter pill, which was it was nice because sometimes all these trends in the market go towards like the New England's the sweet flavors, the fruitiness, and then they can kind of get back to some of the hey, remember when IPAs first came out and they're all super bitter and piney, and
Yeah, it's a landscaping bush.
yeah.
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 So they can kind of get into some really cool
I'm trying to remember.
beer flavors.
Yeah, we did a habanero IPA. Or was
It was the s'mores one.
Yeah.
That was so
Every Irishman is just like, I'm sorry, what?
And I get so excited when I hear a habanero or jalapeno in
I
beer.
remember. Yeah.
So fun.
That's so intense.
Him and his friend have a tradition on Veterans Day. They do a beer together for it. Yeah. So because Matt's a veteran, so yeah, that's a big week for us too. I dread it, but I look forward to it
Yeah.
at the same time. Like I started thinking about the other day about start coming up with some stuff.
That's cool.
There's also a cool little game, speaking of veterans, that we play in the tap room. It's the challenge coin game. So everybody that participates, and you can get them, they're like $15, and half of it goes to charity, half the money that you pay for this. But everybody in the tap room keeps this in their pocket. And then if you forget to bring it, you got to buy the round.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's kind of developed into this. There's a whole story about like challenge coins and like how they got started in the military. But because we're so veteran, heavy, and you can see the flags on the ceiling. We try to keep all the branches except Space Force. Not yet. But yeah, it's if you come in here and you get started on this, you'll see that almost everybody in the tap room plays this, and I've never not brought this. But
do you have yours right now?
I
Looks
didn't
like
know
you're
I was
buying
allowed
around then,
to.
friend.
I didn't want to steal. I didn't know I was allowed to buy.
people who
I thought it was like only veterans were allowed to have the coins.
yeah, well, if you're military, typically you have your own challenge coin.
Right.
It'd be like your own branches, and they've got 1,000 of them for every little. If you go into the Panama Canal, like Coast Guard gives you a challenge coin because you cross into the Panama Canal. Like they give them for every sort of thing. But if you're in the military and you bring your challenge coin, it would outrank mine because I'm just a civilian.
Sure.
So if I brought mine out and he brought his out and he was in the military, I now owe him. So there's like rules to it. Or the owners, they have one that says owner on it.
Oh, cool.
So if I challenge him, he outranks me if he has his coin. But they always forget their coins. So I always get them to buy me around.
That's awesome.
And anywhere we go out in public, where if we run into each other at a bar, like it's the challenge coin thing.
That's sweet.
So it's kind of a cool game that we play in the tap room.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I was afraid to do it because I thought it was only veterans do it.
Oh no, that's the civilian
I didn't
one.
want to steal valor.
Yeah, that's the one where you're the lowest man
Yeah.
on the totem
I
pole, but
felt
you're
real
still
guilt-
participating.
I didn't know about those coins. I felt real guilty one time. A guy came and he was here to get a coin, and I had no idea what he was talking about. I was like, "Yeah, you got to come back at 4." And then when they explained it to me, I was like, "Oh, I didn't." Oh man, I didn't mean to do that. I just sent a vet away. I was like chasing him down the street. I felt so bad.
Well, guys, thank you so much for your time. If you want to go buy tickets to their event coming up, you can check the link down in the description, and then you can get your ticket. Then it's going to be a good time. Bands all the time, basically
Great
from
bands.
Yes.
noon until 11.
It's always a good time. Even last year with the rain. Last year we got stuck with the rain with it, and it still turned out to be like an amazing time.
Yeah, we've got Grosh playing. They're like a big local sensation, really good original band. Unleash the Lion, they're a Pearl Jam tribute band. Applejack, which is a 70s rock classic. They do the Kiss, Van Halen stuff. And then Brothers Elsie, which is, I guess, managed by one of the members of the Glorious Sons, and then the Glorious Sons. So
Sweet.
they're like the big national act.
Yeah.
Pretty proud that we have them.
That's awesome.
Good
man.
deal.
That's really cool. Well, thank you guys. Appreciate your time. Go check them out. Come down to 12 Gates. Try some of their beer. You will not be disappointed. So thank you guys. Appreciate
Thank you guys.
it.
Cheers. Appreciate it.